The sun, where does it rise from? The east. If it covers the carpet of Aqil ibn Abi Talib, covers it all, the shade. This is the masjid. Aqil is sitting on this side. The sun comes from this side and it goes up and up and up and up and up and it goes. If the sun reaches this side, it passes the zenith, the middle, and it goes towards this side. What is it going to do? This is an indication that the salah was prayed ba'da al-zawal, after the zenith.
وصدق وبر وليسدس إذا ذكر العلماء فمالك للنجوى. When the scholars are mentioned, and Imam Malik is the star.
الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. وإن the sharh of the Muwatta of Imam Malik ibn Anas rahimahullah ta'ala, we are taking the sharh or the riwayah, the chain of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi rahimahullah ta'ala. We have finished the first chapter of the book, and now inshallah ta'ala today we're going to be starting Babu Waqtil Jumu'ah. My son Ibrahim is going to read فَلْيَتَفَضَّلْ مَشْكُورًا مَأْجُورًا.
وقت الجمعة.
So the author rahimahullah here, he says Babu Waqtul Jumu'ah. Babu Waqtil Jumu'ah. The chaptering here, we're going to be talking about the timing of the Jumu'ah. This word, al-Jumu'ah, there's three ways of saying it. The word Jumu'ah, there's three ways of saying it. The first one is Dhammul Mim, saying Jumu'ah, by placing a Dhamma on the Mim. The second is Bitaskin al-Mim, placing a Sukun on the Mim and saying Jum'ah. And the third way of saying it is placing a Fatha on the Mim, Jum'ah. Jumu'ah. And the Arabs, they say all of those three forms. Now, they then discuss those three wajh, those three forms of saying it. The first one being ad-dhamm, second being sukun, and the third being fatha on the mim. They discuss which one is the asal, meaning which one is the original form in which we should say it. There's two views of which is the asal. There are two views on which of those awjuh is the asal. The first view is al-aslu, the asal is ad-dhamm. The dhamma is a asal, that it should be said al-Jumu'ah, by placing a dhamma on the mim. That's a qawl. And the Arabs, they say that a lot. The Arabs, they do that a lot, where they say a word in its asal bil-dhammi, and when they leave the asal, they place a sukun on it. Like Ar-Rusul. Ar-Rusul is bil-dhamm, sah? And you can also say Ar-Rusl. The Arabs, they say it. So the asal is Ar-Rusul, and when you leave the asal, it's bit-taskeen, by placing a sukun, by saying Ar-Rusl. And the same is the word Qudus. Al-Qudus. And the Arabs also say Al-Quds, bit-taskeen ad-dal. So that's the first view, that the asal is the dhamma. The second view amongst the Arabs, or amongst the ulama of the language, they say that the sukun is the asal. The what? The sukun is the asal. Jum'ah is the asal. Okay? And they say that the dhamma, the reason why it was used as a dhamma is min babi al-mujawara. It's min babi al-mujawara. Mujawara means what? The letter before it had a dhamma on it, so the meme will have a dhamma on it. Ju-mu. But it's not asal. Are we all together, brothers? And The Arabs, they say that a lot. For example, the word khutwat, the Arabs, they say khutuwat. The asal is what? The sukoon. Khutwat is the asal. Khutuwat is min bab al-mujawara, because it's the letter before it is a dhamma, so it takes a dhamma with it. And another word is qufl, which is a lock. The asal is qufl, and the Arabs also say min bab al-mujawara quful. They say it. So those are the two madhabs and the two views in this particular mas'ala. What is the benefit of knowing this? لأن الخلاف, if it doesn't have any impact, يعني لا طائل تحته, there's nothing you can take under it, there's nothing you can benefit from that difference of opinion, it doesn't bring any fa'idah, thamara, doesn't come from it, then there's no point wasting your time on something. There scholars are back and forth, and then if you take an opinion, there's nothing really that's going to come out of it. And that tends to happen a lot when you're studying. You see some issues, there's khilaf, there's difference of opinion, but those difference of opinion does not have benefit in it. I give an example. The term al-mubah, the scholars say the ahkam al-taklifiyya, the ahkam al-sharia is divided into ahkam ilmiya and ahkam amaliya. Ahkam al-ilmiya is aqidah. Ahkam amaliya, الأحكام الشرعية العملية, is what is studied in كتب أصول الفقه. Okay? And they divide that الأحكام الشرعية العملية, they divide it into two. أحكام تكليفية and الأحكام الوضعية, صح? And الأحكام التكليفية they divide it into 5, صح? كتب أصول الفقه, the most basic books of أصول الفقه, you learn الأحكام التكليفية. And you all know it. الإيجاب, الندب, الحظر, الإكراه, أنا الإباحة, صح؟ الإيجاب, المندوب, الحظر, الإكراه, أنا الإباحة, صح؟ The scholars, they say the first 4, which is الإيجاب والندب, they fall under طلب الفعل. One is على وجه الإلزام and one is على وجه الأفضلية. But there's a request. The wajib, you're requested to do something. And the mandub, the sunnah, you're requested to do it, but not in a forceful manner, but there's still a request. Does that make sense, brothers? Are we all together, brothers? So the wajib, the wajib is talabu fi'l ala wajh al-ilzam. The mandub is what? Talabu al-fi'l ala wajh al-afdaliyya. You're requested to do something in a recommended manner. So those two request to do something. Al-hadru and al-ikrah, talabu tark, you're requested to leave off something. One is ala wajh al-ilzam and one is ala wajh al-afdaliyya. The muharram, haram, you're told to leave off something, you're requested to leave off something in a forceful manner. The haram is forceful, you have to stay away from it or you're going to be punished. And the karaha, which is what is disliked, you're requested to leave off something in a recommended manner. This is not good, leave it. That's makruh, right? But look at all 4 I just mentioned. All 4 of them are talab. All 4 of them, there's a request. The first 2, there's a request to do it. The second 2, there's a request to leave it. But the question here is the mubah, where does it fall under then? Does that make sense? They said, then why is it under the ahkamu taklifiyah? Now, if you look at the khilaf and the discussion and what's been said and back and forth and etc., you won't leave with a thamara. Does that make sense? There's nothing that you take under this discussion. So there's these kind of khilafat and discussions, there are more important things for you to look at. There are more important discussions that you should be engaged with and research into. That makes sense, brothers? But this issue of Jumu'ah, Jum'ah, there's a thamara under it. There is something under it that we can take from it, which is, if you say that the asal is a sukoon, then the form is going to be fu'la. Sah? Jum'ah. If you say the sukoon is the asal. Are we all together, brothers? it comes in the form of fu'la. That's the form it comes in. And al-fu'la, okay brothers, fu'la with the sukoon is a isim maf'ul. And if it falls under isim maf'ul, it has a meaning, a specific meaning. Are we all together? Whereas if you don't believe that the sukoon is the asal, then the discussion is something else. Are we all together, brothers? The discussion is another long discussion. But this is the fa'idah. And if you place a fatha on it, and you say Jumu'ah, and you place a fatha on it, it becomes ismu fa'il. Sah? If you place a fatha on it, it's ismu fa'il. ولذلك, the poet he said, وَفُعْلَةُ الِّسْمِ مَفْعُولٍ وَإِن فُتِحَتْ. If you place a fatha on it now, مِن وَزْنِهِ الْعَيْنُ يَرْتَدُّ اسْمَ مَنْ فَعَلَ. اسم فاعل. And Allah used it in the Qur'an subhanahu wa ta'ala. What did he say? وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَا ذَاتِ اللُّمَزَةِ. Huma. There's a fatha on it, right? You know it's ismu fa'il. So you say hammaz. Lumaza. Lammaz. لأنه اسم فاعل, صح? So it will consistently give you a qa'idah nahwiyya, a sarfiyya that you can follow. So this khilaf, there's a benefit in it. The scholars, they discuss, my brothers and sisters, that who was the first person to have used this term? Who was the first? Before I go into that, if we say Jumu'ah, we place a fatha on it, then it means the people who come together are a lot. Like for example in the Arabic language, if you say ضحك, it's kathiru dhahik. This person who laughs too much. صح? Whereas if you place a sukoon on it and you say ضحك, then it means he is a person that people laugh at. صح? It means أَيُضْحَكُ مِنْهُ. The point I'm trying to say to you, brothers, is that the Arabic language is rich, wallahi. It's a very rich language. And it's a blessing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us, tabarak wa ta'ala, as Muslims. This is your language. The Arabic language is not the language of the Arabs. It's the language of a Muslim. And a Muslim needs to take it serious when it comes to the language. ولذلك today, when we study the timing of Salatul Jumu'ah, what time is it? And we look at the hadith inshaAllah ta'ala that's with us. We're going to bi'idhnillahi al-kareem see how in need we are in knowing the Arabic language. There's so much points that we're going to be taking, inshallah, if time allows us. We're going to go through grammatical rulings. We're going to go through issues related to balagha. All of that, why are we doing it? To get to the point, to get to the conclusion of who is right from amongst the fuqaha in the issue of what time is Salatul al-Jumu'ah. There's a khilaf. Is it before qabla zawal or ba'da zawal? To know and understand that, my brothers and sisters, you have to have ilmam, some understanding of the Arabic language. They say that the first person to have used Jumu'ah as a congregation, because it's what brings people together, is Ka'b ibn Lu'ay. And Ka'b ibn Lu'ay is who? He's the great granddad of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you read the Prophet's nasab, the Prophet goes to Ka'b ibn Lu'ay, ibn Ghalib ibn Fihr, the Prophet goes into it. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. ولذلك the poet, he said, بموت كعب أرقوا لشهرتي رد إلى الدين أهالي مكة يدعو إلى النبي كل جمعة بخطب إلى الرشاد مودعة. Before Nabiullah Muhammad came, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, and before Islam put together their own calendar, how did the Arabs used to count? What was their calendar? Before the Hijrah, what was their calendar? Because the first person who wrote or who chose the Islamic calendar was Umar ibn Khattab, right? And Umar based it on the Prophet's Hijrah. He did not base it on what? He did not base it on the Prophet's death, and he did not base it on the Prophet's birth. All of these were suggestions that the Sahabas brought forward, but he felt that the most significant thing in this religion was the Hijrah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. But pay attention here. before Nabiullah Muhammad came, who is it, the person, what were they using as a calendar? They used to use Ka'b ibn Lu'ay's death. Ka'b ibn Lu'ay's death was a calendar for them. So they would say this happened 2 years after Ka'b ibn Lu'ay died, 5 years before he died, a year before he was born. He was used as the calendar. Are we all together? And so, and that carried on. That carried on until the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ, where everyone forgot about Ka'b ibn Lu'ay, because Ka'b had a very high position in their eyes. And that's what the poet here means. بِمَوْتِ كَعْبٍ أَرَّخُوا. The death of Ka'b ibn Lu'ay is what they used as the تاريخ لشهرته رد إلى الدين أهل مكة يدعو إلى النبي كل جمعة. The word Jumu'ah, that's what the poet Al-Majalisi here is trying to mention. Jumu'ah means to bring people together. That's why يجمع الناس. On Friday what happens? Everyone comes. And even in some countries like the West, people who don't pray the 5 daily prayers will come to Jumu'ah. Jumu'ah, he's there. He doesn't miss Jumu'ah. So Jumu'ah brings a lot of people together, sah? That's why the word Jumu'ah is used. Naam. So if the Dhamma is the asal, and that's the asal, then why did they use sukoon? They said the reason the sukoon was used, min bab al-takhfif, to make it easy. The Arabs use that. And there are many reasons behind why Arabs use sukoon. I won't go into that right now. It's a lesson for another place and another time. So that's what we take so far. The word al-Jumu'ah, we have an understanding of what it means. Let's inshallah ta'ala delve into the hadith. No.
مالك عن عمه أبي سهيل بن مالك عن أبيه.
Last week we mentioned this before. Okay? It says Malik عن عمه, his uncle. Here it says Abi Suhail ibn Malik. Does anyone here know who Abu Suhail is? Nafi' ibn Malik. Suhail's name is what? His name is Nafi' ibn Malik ibn Abi Amir is his name. When did he die? So I said 130, يعني not exactly then, لكن تأخر وفاته إلى that year. هيه عن أبيه. Who does he mean عن أبيه here? His father is Malik ibn Abi Amir, is the grandfather of Imam Malik. صح? His name is called Malik. Imam Malik's father is Malik. Grandfather, his name is Malik. Are we all together, brothers? When did we say he died? Inshallah, brothers, write these notes down. We only take the Muwatta once a week. صح? Take it once a week. The videos are also released, so go over it again and again and listen to it, inshallah ta'ala, because the more that you, my brothers and sisters, write and you go over the lessons a few times, the easier it is for you to understand what is to come. Because a lot of the things are going to be repetition. صح? And the weapon of the student is the pen. Student of knowledge, his weapon is what? The pen. That's why the ulama used to say, قَيِّدُ الْعِلْمَ بِالْكِتَابَةِ. Narrow knowledge down, keep it down with a pen. A poet once said, فَمِنَ الْحَمَاقَةِ أن تصيد غزالة وتتركها بين الناس طالقة. He said it is dim-wittedness, foolishness, to do what? To hunt a deer. Once you got the deer, instead of tying the deer and then keeping the deer tied up, what do? You hunt the deer, you grab the deer, you have the deer, and guess what? You don't tie it. So what does it do? It runs away from you. And that's the seeking of the knowledge. He's trying to say it's like that. It's like a deer. You just got this knowledge, mashallah, you brought it in. Instead of writing it and holding it down, what happened? You didn't write anything. So it flew away from you. So write and keep this information, inshallah ta'ala. Naam.
مالك عن عمه أبي سهيل بن مالك عن أبيه أنه قال كنت أرى طنفسة لعقيل بن أبي طالب يوم الجمعة تطرح إلى جدار المسجد الغربي.
The Imam rahimahullah here, he mentions, by the way, the grandfather of the Imam Malik, he died the year 74 Hijriya. That's when he died. He said, كنت أرى طنفسة. The word طنفسة, there's 5 ways of saying it in the Arabic language. But I won't turn every single thing into a lecture on the Arabic language and how it should be pronounced. So I will let you guys research the ways to say it, inshallah ta'ala. Look at the books. Okay? By the way, there's a kitab you can read that you can look up all of these words, other than the dictionaries. There's a kitab, it's called Al-Fasih ibn Tha'lab rahimahullah authored it, lakin Ibn Murahhal had made a nazm of it. It's called Al-Muwata'atu Al-Fasih. This kitab by Ibn Murahhal rahimahullah ta'ala is a must book for you to get, in order to look up words, how to pronounce them, and how many ways and forms is it read, and which one is afsah, which is the most eloquent and correct way of saying it. It's Al-Fasih. The book is called Al-Fasih. Ta'alab rahimahullah authored it and put it together. Ibn Murahhal, what he did was he made a nazm out of it, the poetry. You can memorize it. And these kind of books you must read. It's called Matnul Lugha. Books like that are called Matnul Lugha. It's like a dictionary. You read the dictionary. Na'am, yes you do. A dictionary is read from beginning to end in the Arabic language. How many ways can you say this word or not? So here the hadith has a word which it says Kuntu ara tinfasa. This word tinfasa, there's 5 ways of saying it, and it's a lafdhun ghareeb. It's a word which is strange. It's a strange word. And so I want to stand over this and I want to speak about a topic within science of hadith that the scholars study, is known as Ghareebul Hadith. Naam. Ghareebul Hadith. Ghareebul Hadith is when words are used which are very strange. Strange in what sense? It's not commonly used. The word Ghareeb, it means al-bu'du an watanihi, when a person is away from his country. That's what the word Ghareeb means. Ghareeb is a stranger, meaning a person who's away from his place of residency. That's what Ghareeb means. Like ulama al-hadith, when they use the word Ghareeb, they don't mean that. They mean huwa ma yakunu fil matni. It is anything that's in the wording of the hadith min alfadhin ghamidatin. Words which are ghamid. Ghamidah means it's not clear. يعني لا يتبادر إلى الذهن. It doesn't hasten to the person's mind. You don't know tinfasa. What does it mean? Hatta a man who knows the Arabic language very well, he might have to look at the dictionary for it. It's ghareeb. This is what it means. Ba'idatin, and it's far from what? عن الفهم, understanding it. لقلة استعمالها, and the reason for that is because it's rarely used. Is what? It's rarely used. Kutubul Mustalah, they talk about the issue related to Ghareebul Hadith. They talk about it. Ibn Salah rahimahullah, whose book after it the scholars have authored either a nazm or a hashiyah or a nukat or whatever it may be. Yeah, as Ibn Hajar mentions in his kitab An-Nuzhat An-Nadhar fi Tawdih Nukhbat Al-Fikr fi Mustalah Ahli Al-Athar, he mentions that everyone who came after Ibn Salah rahimahullah, his kitab Ulum Al-Hadith, either they placed a nazm on it, or a sharah on it, or a nukat on it, or a hashiyah on it, or even they criticized and critiqued it. Ibn Salah rahimahullah, that book, in there's a chapter where he talks about Ghareebul Hadith rahimahullah, and also other scholars talk about it in great details, like Shamsuddin al-Sakhawi in Fath al-Mughith, which is the sharah of Alfiyat al-Iraqi, which is a nazm of Muqaddimat Ibn Salah. Now we understand what the word Ghareebul Hadith means. And Ghareebul Hadith, why is this hadith strange? Why is this word strange? لِقِلَّةِ اسْتِعْمَالِهَا, because it's not commonly used. When a word is not commonly used, people won't know what it means. And by the way, my brothers and sisters, you have to take time out to learn these strange words and have a book where you write these alfaz which are ghareeba. I'm going to read on you a kalam Ibn Salah said rahimahullah in his muqaddimah. Look what he said about the importance of learning Ghareebul Hadith. He says, هذا فن مهم. Learning about those strange words in the hadith that don't come to your mind, that you don't know it straight away when you see it. هذا فن مهم. It's a very important science. يقبح جهله بأهل الحديث خاصة. And it's not nice. It's actually bad. يقبح means قبيح. قبيح means something bad. It is very bad, he says. جهله بأهل الحديث, for a person of hadith who's studying hadith, who's min أهل الحديث, to be ignorant of this particular science. It's not nice for you. Specifically you. ثم بأهل العلم عامة. And especially the people of knowledge generally speaking, but specifically the people of hadith, they should be what? They should be ashamed of not knowing this science. وَالْخَوْضُ فِيهِ لَيْسَ بِالْهَيِّنِ. And also trying to get into this science and read about it is not easy as well, he said. وَالْخَائِضُ فِيهِ حَقِيقٌ بِالتَّحَرِّي. And the person who wants to indulge and delve into this science, for him what is needed is التحري, diligence. Be very careful. نعم. جدير بالتوقي. This science requires being careful. Look what he then said. روينا عن الميموني. We narrated from Al-Maymuni, who is a student of Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah. He's mentioning, I have a chain, Ibn Salah is saying, that from me to Al-Maymuni, who asked Imam Ahmad, سئل Ahmad, Imam Ahmad was asked, عن حرف من غريب الحديث. They asked him about a word that was strange. They asked him a word that was strange in a hadith. And look what Imam Ahmad said. He said, سَلُوا أَصْحَابَ الْغَرِيبِ. Go and ask the people who have specialized in this field. Those who know Ghareebul Hadith, go to them. فإني أكره, because I dislike أن أتكلم في قول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that I speak about the hadith of the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم بالظن, with speculation. I assume and I say maybe that's what he means, and then I get it wrong. I don't like that, he said. So this science is very important. Ghareebul Hadith, looking into it and studying it. And there were scholars who were specialists at it, even at the time of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. From those giants who had also authored a book in this field, Ghareebul Hadith, and was at the time of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. And he's from the Aqran of Imam Ahmad, is Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Salami rahimahullah ta'ala. Abu Ubaid has a 2-volume book on Ghareebul Hadith. لذلك أبو عبيد القاسم السلام, they say he's an imam في الحديث وإمام في اللغة. He was an imam when it came to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was also imam when it came to the Arabic language. Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Salam rahimahullah has many books. He's authored many works rahimahullah. From the works that he has written is that book Ghareebul Hadith. He also has another book on Fada'ilul Qur'an, the virtues of the Qur'an. And if you look at the muqaddimah of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala, the Tab'a of Dar ibn al-Jawzi, Tab'a Tayyiba doesn't do that. Tayyiba put the Fada'ilul Qur'an at the end of Tafsir ibn Kathir. Lakin the Tab'a of Dar ibn al-Jawzi, Hikmat Bashir's tahqiq, they put the Fada'ilul Qur'an of Ibn Kathir at the beginning. If you look at the Fada'ilul Qur'an of Ibn Kathir, you will realize, you'll see it. He says it a lot. قال أبو عبيد القاسم السلام. Abu Ubaid al-Qasim al-Salam said, and he quotes him so many times. Ibn Kathir's Fada'il al-Qur'an, he copies and quotes so many times the kitab of Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Salami rahimahullah ta'ala. So, Ghareebul Qur'an and Ghareebul Hadith. And we are especially here talking about Ghareebul Hadith because that's what we're talking about. And this is common in the Prophet's words which are Ghareeb. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was أحسن من نطق بضاد. He was the best man who ever uttered the word Dad. Salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. And there is no one who can say that I know the Arabic language from beginning to end. Ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, Imam al-Shafi'i, he says, rahimahullah, in his kitab al-Risala, and he also says it in his kitab Jumu'ah al-Ilm, he says that no one has encompassed the Arabic language except a prophet. A Nabi can. No one else. Because the Nabi, he receives wahy and revelation for everything. Sah? Like no one else. And then there's going to be a word that you don't know what it means. Not a word, but words that you don't know what it means. So scholars authored books on it. Are we all together, brothers? Let me mention some of the books, inshallah ta'ala, that you should get. I don't need to give an example of words which are ghareeb. We have it here, tinfasa, which we're going to explain, inshallah ta'ala. From the books that you should get is the kitab Ghareebul Hadith by Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Sallam al-Harawi rahimahullah ta'ala. Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Sallam, he died year 224 Hijriya. His kitab is basically one of the reference. Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Sallam's kitab Ghareebul Hadith is a reference. Is considered and it's seen as Ummahatul Kutub rahimahullah ta'ala. And as I said to you before, he's an imamun fil lughah and he's also an imamun in hadith. Also, from the scholars who have written a kitab in Ghareebul Hadith is Abu Muslim Abdullahi ibn Muslim ibn Qutaybat al-Dinawari rahimahullah. From the scholars who authored is not Abu Muslim, I mean Abu Muhammad. His name is Abu Muhammad Abdullah ibn Muslim ibn Qutaybat al-Dinawari rahimahullah. He has a kitab in Ghareebul Hadith rahimahullah ta'ala. What he did was, Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Sallam's kitab Ghareebul Hadith, he said, I'm going to finish it off. Ibn Qutaybah, he said, I'm going to finish it off. Whatever is missed by Abu Ubaid al-Qasim Sallam, I'm going to carry it on. So his kitab is a itmam. It's not a kitab where he starts each word from himself. No. So you would have to read Abu Ubaid al-Qasim Sallam's kitab with Ibn Qutaybat al-Dinawari. Okay. Then after that, you have the kitab by Abi Ishaq, Ibrahim ibn Ishaq al-Harbi rahimahullah ta'ala, who died year 285 Hijriya. He has a kitab in Ghareebul Hadith. And then you have al-Imam al-Khattabi al-Busti rahimahullah. Al-Imam al-Khattabi al-Busti rahimahullah, يعني Abu Sulaiman Hamd ibn Muhammad ibn Ibrahim al-Khattabi. He has a kitab in Ghareeb al-Hadith. But what did he do? He finished off or carried on what Ibn Qutaybat al-Dinawari started. Al-Khattabi rahimahullah ta'ala. And last but not least, there came the man who gathered everything that was mentioned before him, read it all, added onto it, made his book the most comprehensive one, that if you get that one alone, it's inshallah ta'ala should be enough, is the kitab An-Nihaya fi Ghareeb al-Hadith by Ibn Athir al-Jazari rahimahullah. Not the Jazari who authored the Muqaddimatul Jazariya. No, Jazira was a land where they were named after. Like his name is Abi Sa'adat, because there's a lot of Ibn Athirs and people confuse them. Abu Sa'adat is his name, rahimahullah. Ibn Athir is what he's known for. Ibn Athir, if you say I need his kitab An-Nihaya fi Ghareeb al-Hadith, you will get it inshallah ta'ala. But I just want to mention a slight benefit that Suyuti mentions in his Alfiyah. Suyuti rahimahullah has an Alfiyah where he authored in the science of Mustalah al-Hadith, and again his kitab is still based on the Muqaddimah of Muqaddimat ibn Salah. And of course he benefited from the Alfiyah of al-Iraqi, and the scholars, they compare the two. They say which one is better to memorize, Alfiyatul Iraqi or Alfiyatul Suyuti. My heart is more inclined to Alfiyatul Iraqi, but a lot of people will say to you it's better to memorize Alfiyatul Suyuti. The reason for it is because Suyuti's wordings are very simple and easy, and he came after al-Iraqi. And I like Iraqi because he's Imamu Hada al-Sha'n. He's the Imam of this science. He's the teacher of Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Iraqi. And Shaykh Abdul Karim al-Khudayr, Hafidhahullah wa Ra'ah, what he did was, he did the tahqiq of the Alfiyatul Iraqi. He did tahqiq of it. and he also did the tahqiq of the Kitab Fath al-Mughith, Maktab Dar Minhaj. He did tahqiq of it. And at the beginning of his Alfiyatul Iraqi, he did a muqarana. He compared between what? Alfiyatul Iraqi with Alfiyatul Suyuti, which one is better? So it's worth reading, inshallah ta'ala, and looking at that bi'idhnillahi al-kareem. Suyuti says, وَخَيْرُ مَا جَاءَ مِنْ طَرِيقٍ أَوْ عَنِ الصَّحَابِيِّ رَآوٍ قَدْ حَكَوْا. Here he says, Suyuti, that if a hadith comes and there's a lafz ghareeb in it, there's a term in it which is ghareeb, strange. One of the best ways to know it is if you can look for another wording of it that has been narrated. Are we all together, brothers? Yani if you can find another chain for it, sometimes it comes clear to you what the word means. Another riwayah will give you the understanding of it. If that's not there and it's not present, okay, then what a Sahabi says about what that word means is also the best. Are we all together, brothers? And that's why I think you should, inshallah ta'ala, the Kitab An-Nihaya fi Ghareebul Hadith by Ibn Athir, okay, it does that for you. Ibn Athir, the good thing about him is that he will mention the hadith. If the word is ghareeb and the hadith is ghareeb, he will tell you another wording, explain what it means. Let me come back, inshallah ta'ala, and speak about the word tinfasa, what it means, and the meaning of it. The word tinfasa in English is just a carpet. But in the Arabic language, it's more than just a carpet. It's a certain carpet made of certain things. It's made out of certain materials. But in English, it will translate as just a carpet. Because in English, doesn't matter what the carpet is made out of. Generally, they just consider it to be a carpet. Okay? But the word is a carpet. Tinfasa is a carpet. So let me give you the understanding of the hadith, inshallah ta'ala. And there's so much to unpack. Bi-idhnillahi al-kareem. This hadith, why is Imam Malik using it? I will mention the khilaf of the issue of what time Salatul Jumu'ah is prayed, but before I do that, let me explain the hadith, what it means, okay? And then I'll give you the wajhul istidlal, the wajhul dalala, wajhul dilala, you can say it both ways, of what the hadith, what's taken from the hadith. Here Imam Malik is saying, hey Ibrahim, start from كنت أرى طنفسة لعقيل بن أبي طالب.
كنت أرى طنفسة لعقيل بن أبي طالب يوم الجمعة تطرح إلى جدار المسجد الغربي، فإذا غشي الطنفسة كلها ظل الجدار خرج عمر بن الخطاب وصلى الجمعة، قال: ثم نرجع بعد صلاة الجمعة فنقيل قائلة الضحى.
Here we have, is there a shadda on the hat for you? Yeah? So it's قائلة الضحى. Okay, let me explain this hadith for you. This hadith is in the masjid, Aqil ibn Abi Talib. Aqil ibn Abi Talib is the son of who? Abu Talib. Okay, Abu Talib had many boys. The oldest boy he had was called Talib. So it was named after him, Abu Talib. Talib was his oldest son. Sah? After him was Aqil. Aqil is older than who? Ali. And he's also older than who? Ja'far. And who's the oldest? Talib, Aqil. What's the age gap between Aqil and Ali? 10 years. What about Ali and Ja'far? 10 years. Talib died mushrik. Lakin Aqil and Ali and Ja'far and all of them, they embraced Islam and they are noble companions. Are we all together? Aqil ibn Abi Talib, what he used to do was he used to come into the masjid and there used to be a carpet for him. It was his carpet. And it would be placed on the western side of the masjid. So let's say this is the masjid. Aqil would have, this is the masjid. This is the floor of the masjid, okay? Aqil will have, he would have and this is the wall of the masjid. Okay, the western side. This is the wall of the masjid, the wall over there. And the carpet, the floor is the carpet, right? On the edge of he has a carpet for him. This is the carpet for him. He sits on that carpet before Jumu'ah. لأن عقيل بن أبي طالب was the most knowledgeable man when it came to أنساب العرب. Quraysh didn't like Aqil ibn Abi Talib. They hated him. The reason is because Aqil, I'm talking about, Aqil knew very well the lineage of the Arabs. He knew Mathalibul Arab. He knew the mistakes they did before and things that happened to them and shames and stories he knows that he hasn't forgotten. Quraysh didn't like Aqil ibn Abi Talib because he used to tell them, this tribe did this in Jahiliyyah. He knew it. So he would sit in the masjid and he would teach the people about the different things that happened قبل صلاة الجمعة, before Jumu'ah. And when Salatul Jumu'ah comes, Umar radiallahu anhu would enter, as the hadith mentions. Umar would enter the masjid and he would do the khutbah and then he would lead the salah. Now, this is the part that they want from the hadith. The sun, where does it rise from? The east or the west? The east. So this is the masjid again. This is the masjid. Aqil is sitting on this side. The sun comes from this side and it goes up and up and up and up and up and it goes. If the sun reaches this side, it passes the zenith, the middle, and it goes towards this side. What is it going to do? If it covers the carpet of Aqil ibn Abi Talib, covers it all, the shade. This is an indication that the salah was prayed ba'da al-zawal, after the zenith. Because it's not possible. Are we all together? And those, of course, is not like buildings like this where the sun can't come in. The sun would come in. So the shade will be covered. So this is the evidence Al-Imam Malik and Jumhur, the Jumhur are using. Not just, this is the view of Abu Hanifa and the Hanafiya and the Malikiyya and the Shafi'iyya, three of them, all on one side. They all believe that the Salatul Jum'ah, awwal waqtiha, the beginning of its time is when? Ba'd al-zawal. And it cannot be prayed. That's when it starts. Ba'd al-zawal. The Hanabila believe it's what? Qabla al-zawal. And they use the same hadith. We're going to see it inshallah ta'ala soon. Are we all together, brothers? Am I making sense here? So this is the discussion. كنت أرى طنفسة. He used to, Malik, by the way, Malik, he met many of the companions. He met Abdullah ibn Umar and Umar ibn Khattab and Uthman and Talhat ibn Ubaidillah and many. The grandfather of Imam Malik met big companions. He met Umar, he met Uthman, Talhat ibn Ubaidillah, Aisha, Abu Hurairah, he met all of them. He was a virtuous man, the grandfather of Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, I used to see a tinfasa, a carpet, لعقيل ibn Abi Talib, owned by Aqil ibn Abi Talib. As I said to you before, Aqil was there to do what? To talk to them about Ansabul Arab and all of that. يوم الجمعة, the day of Jumu'ah, تطرح إلى جدار المسجد, and it was thrown at the wall of the masjid. So it's on the western side, Al-Gharbi, it says. إلى جدار المسجد الغربي. The masjid here is what? Masjid al-Nabawi. Al-Gharbi, the western side. فإذا غشي الطنفسة, if the tinfasa, the shade covers it, كلها ظل الجدار خرج عمر. That's when Umar would come out. Then بعد الزوال, Umar would then come out based on this and the view of the Jumhur. بعد الزوال, بعد الزوال, Umar would come out. وصلى الجمعة, and Umar would then lead the Jumu'ah. And where's the khutbah? Would he not do the khutbah? No, he would. This is what the ulama refer to as hadf, is to omit a word because it's known. Ibn Malik, he says, وَحَذْفُ مَا يُعْلَمُ جَائِزٌ, it is permissible, يعني you're allowed to. وَحَذْفُ مَا يُعْلَمُ جَائِزٌ, it is permissible to remove something that you and I know. We don't need to. If something me and you know, we don't, and it's known by the both of us, there's no need to waste time and say it. He says, وَحَذْفُ مَا يُعْلَمُ جَائِزٌ كَمَا تَقُولُ زَيْدٌ بَعْدُ مَنْ عِنْدَكُمَا. If somebody says to you, من عندكما أما من عندك, and you say Zayd, Zayd, you're trying to say عندي Zayd, you remove the word عندي, you don't need to repeat it because the person understands what you mean by it is عندي Zayd, صح? And the Arabs, my brothers and sisters, this concept of hadf, where is it studied in hadf? It's spoken about, as I told you, Ibn Malik rahimahullah ta'ala here in the science of hadith, in Nahu, وحذف ما يعلم جائز كما تقول زيد من بعد من عندكما. Ibn Malik is saying it's Alfiya. It's also studied علم البلاغة. علم البلاغة is 3 sciences. Within it you study what? You study a subject known as علم المعاني. In علم المعاني there is al-khabar and al-insha, and you study in there al-qasru, and in there you also study al-musawat wal-hadf wal-itnab. It's studied, and I'm teaching it currently now as an introduction to the science of ilm al-balagha. Hadf is something that the Arabs use only because it's a language very rich. Hadf is actually itself is a mu'jiza. Guess what? The Arabs don't just remove, first they remove a word. Allah used in the Qur'an, وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةِ, يعني وَاسْأل أهل القرية. أهل is being taken out. واسأل القرية التي كنا فيها. واسأل القرية أي واسأل أهل القرية. Go and ask the people of the village. You don't go to the قرية, the village, or you talk to the village. You ask the people of the village. This is one word that's been removed. صح? Sometimes what is removed is a what? A jumla is removed. Allah uses what? He removes a jumla, a sentence. وَإِن يُكَذِّبُوكَ فَقَدْ كُذِّبَتْ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ. Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ, and give up, wasbir, and be patient. Sometimes what is removed is a sentence. Sentence is removed. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He says, فَأَرْسِلُوهُ يُوسُفُ أَيُّهَا الصِّدِّيقُ. فَأَرْسِلُوهُ, send him. Send him to do what? لِيَسْأَلَ يُوسُف. فأرسلوني, يعني فأرسلوني, send me إلى يوسف, to Nabiullah Yusuf, لأسأله, so I can ask him عن رؤية التي رآها, the dream in which he saw, so I can ask him. That whole sentence is removed. The Arabs are so eloquent. Guess what? They sometimes remove the entire word and they let one letter remain. One letter bis. The Arabs, they say قلت لها قفي فقالت قاف. قلت لها قفي فقالت لي قاف. قلت لها, I said to her. أما فقلت لها قفي فقالت لي قاف. What does that mean? I told her to stop. فقالت, she said to me, قاف. Meaning, أي وقفت. أما أقف. حتى they say بالخير خيرات وإن شرا فا ولا أريد الشر إلا أن تا. فا and تا, 2 letters. The Arabs use that. بلاغة. يعني بالخير خيرات وإن شرا فا ولا أريد الشر إلا أن تا. Just a ta. It's not anta together, one word. It's an and ta, just ta by itself. That's why Abdullah ibn Abbas, he held the opinion that the word qaf wal Qur'an al-Majid, that the word qaf has a meaning. Because Arab use it by itself, one letter. Are we all together, brothers? So, my brothers, the Arabic language is a mu'jiza. Let's not be from the people أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ بَدَّلُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ كُفْرًا وَحَلُّوا قَوْمَهُمْ دَارَ الْبَوَارِ. This blessing Allah has given us, this language which is rich. Let's not exchange it for other languages that we glorify and we look up to, like the English language, and we give everything in our minds and our hearts, and we want our children to master the English language and they become eloquent speakers in the English language. And reality is that the child doesn't even know the language in which the Qur'an came down in. And subhanallah, in the UK, what I studied and finished my postgraduate in masters was linguistics. I studied English language. Mushkila. And when I studied in school, university, I realized this language can never, in no way, shape or form, can it ever compete with the language in which the Qur'an came down in. لغة ثرية غنية جدا. Are we all together, brothers? And that's why Allah chose it, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He selected it. That's why here the Arabs have that. They say a letter, the person who knows what he means by it. He removes a word, he knows what he means by it. He removes a sentence, he knows what he means by it. Are we all together, brothers? So here we have it. خرج عمر بن الخطاب. Umar ibn al-Khattab came out. وصلى الجمعة. You didn't even ask yourself. You knew that the word khutbah is already there. صح? It's already there. قال Malik said. Here the Malik said, in some of the copies, is not Malik ibn Anas. No, it's not Imam Malik. It's the grandfather of Imam Malik. The one who we mentioned, Malik ibn Abi Amir, is him. So write that down. It's Al-Jadd, the granddad. He said, ثم رجع بعد الصلاة الجمعة فنقيل قائلة الضحى. The Hanabila, they said this hadith proves our point. That they said that this hadith, it proves our point. And what point of yours does it prove? They said it proves our point that the beginning of Salatul Jumu'ah is actually qabla al-zawal. And Jumhur are saying no, it's not qabla al-zawal. I'm going to go into this issue next lesson, inshallah ta'ala, and I'm going to compare their opinions and their evidences and each party, the proofs that they used. But the Hanabila said this hadith is actually an evidence for us. One, they disputed on the carpet. Was it inside the masjid or outside the masjid? The discussion changes then. And I'll talk about that next lesson, inshallah ta'ala. The second dispute that they have on this issue, the Hanabila say, is that they say, look at Malik, who's Rawiyul Hadith, the narrator of the hadith. He's saying that what we would do after we leave the Jumu'ah is we would go what? After the Jumu'ah, and then we would do our Qaylula, Qa'ilat al-Duha. Duha is waqt al-Duha. It's the time of Duha. So they said, listen, this is our evidence. How is that our evidence? That the Salatul Jumu'ah was prayed early, and they, qabla zawal, before the zawal, and then they could what? And then they could do their Duha. Then they would, they would do their Qaylula. After the Jumu'ah, they would sleep for, and it's still, لأن وقت الضحى is known as before the Dhuhr time. It's Duha, صح? So they said, look, they could only sleep their Duha unless they did their what? Jumu'ah at what? قبل الزوال. Are we all together? That's the qawl of the Hanabila. Qawlul Jumhur is, Jumhur said, no, you guys are wrong. They brought many other evidences, which we'll talk about next lesson, inshallah ta'ala, but they said there's a hadf. Allahu Akbar. Mas'alatul hadf again. They said there's something omitted from the hadith. And this is common in the Arabic language, and that's what I spoke about, and I explained to you guys. They said what it means is that فَنَقِيلُ, we would do a qaylula. قَائِلَةَ الضَّحَى means there's something removed and omitted from here. What is removed? What is removed from here is we would do the qaylula that we couldn't do at the time because we were preparing for the Jumu'ah. So we would bring it back after the Salatul Jumu'ah. And they only called it qaylula, not because they're sleeping at the qaylula time, but they were mentioning it because they missed out on their qaylula. The Hanabila are saying the reason why they use the word qaylula is because they sleep at the time of qaylula, and qaylula is what? Waqt al-duha. Are we all together? And the Jumhur are saying that the qaylula of duha that they used to do is not what they're sleeping, not sleeping that time. They only refer to it in this hadith Malik, only refer to it as this because they're bringing back their qaylula. Does that make sense, or am I not made it clear? Some of you look confused. Yeah? Let me explain it. The first view, which is the Hanabila, they're saying that they slept their qaylula at the waqt of duha. And they can only do that if, and clearly the hadith saying ba'd al-Jumu'ah, so they all agree it's after Jumu'ah, there's no dispute about it, that they slept their qaylula after Jumu'ah. The question here is, the Hanabila are saying that the qaylula was done waqt al-duha, the waqt of duha. And both parties agree that this was done after Jumu'ah. Then that means qabla al-zawal then. Because duha is qabla al-zawal. The Jumu'ah are saying that's not, you guys are wrong. Here, Malik here is saying, Malik ibn Abi Amir, the grandfather of Imam Malik ibn Anas, here is saying that they would go and they would then sleep the qaylula of duha after the Jumu'ah prayer, ba'd al-zawal, and the reason why they called it qaylula al-duha, al-duha, because they missed out on that one and they were repaying it. It's not because they slept at waqt al-duha. They didn't sleep at waqt al-duha. Does that make sense? They slept ba'd al-zawal, but they missed out on the duha. They missed out on it. Are we all together, brothers? They missed out on it and they're repaying it this after the ba'd al-zawal. And this is our evidence, not for you guys. And brothers, I want to come to a mas'ala and I want to conclude with this issue. That people sometimes will say to you, I'm using hadith and ayah. But sometimes it's not about the other party is not using a hadith and ayah. We're actually using the same hadith and we're coming out with two different conclusions. They're all using this hadith and each person is taking it as the opposite understanding of the other one. And I'll give you an example. This happens many times in hadith and it happens in ayat and it also happens in qawa'id al-sharia. There is 5 legal maxims in the religion. It's called al-qawa'id al-khamsat al-kubra, the 5 legal maxims in the religion. صح؟ 5 مقررة القواعد في المذهب، يعني مذهب الإمام الشافعي. فكن بهن خبيرا ضرر يزال عادة قد حكمت وكذا المشقة تجلب التيسير. There are 5 legal maxims that you all know. From the 5 legal maxims, there's a qaida known as اليقين لا يزول بالشك أما اليقين لا يزال بالشك. You can say it both ways. That certainty is not removed with doubt. You all know that, really, صح? That famous legal maxim. Listen to this. A man went and he divorced his wife 3 times. And then later he goes, I'm slightly confused here. Did I divorce her 3 or was it 1? I know I divorced her, but I don't know if it's 3 and I don't know if it's 1. Jumhur al-ulama, what did they say? Jumhur. The Jumhur of the ulama. What did they say? The asl is that you were married to your wife and now doubt came whether you have divorced her once or 3 times. We'll take the bare minimum. Then the asl is that she's your wife. To remove this fully, because if you say 3, that means she's divorced from you. We can only remove it with certainty, so we'll take the bare minimum. Are we all together? Jumhur says, that's what they say. Jumhur ulama. Malikiyya said no. So the Jumhur, what did they use? This qaida, al-yaqinu la yazulu bil-shak. You cannot remove certainty with doubt. Certainty is what? That she was your wife. Everyone knew, everyone was there at your wedding. People were there at your nikah. They saw you marry this woman. For you to now become separated from this woman, it cannot be based on doubt. It has to be on something certain. You're sure that you divorced your wife, but you're not sure if she's fully not your wife anymore. We will say that you divorced her, yes, but it's not 3. Jumhur believe that. Yani the bulk of the ulama. Malikiyya say no. We're going to make it 3. She's 3 times divorced from you. Khalas. Leave your wife. Why? Because they said al-yaqinu la yazulu bil-shak. How is that possible? The other party used this principle and they said you can't remove certainty with doubt, and they said the opposite to what you guys are saying. How are you both using the same principle? They said the asl is intimacy is not allowed except with certainty. Al-aslu fil abda', the asl of intimacy is what? That you can't have sexual intercourse with a woman. Huh? Are we all together, brothers? So we're going to go back to the asl, which is hurmatul abda'. The asl is you can't have intimacy with a woman. And this, now you came with a shak. Whether you're married to her or not. Sah? We will take the certainty, which is she's not your wife anymore. Sah? You're doubting whether you give her 3 or not. Sah? The asl is that she's not permissible for you to have intimacy with you until you have certainty. Have they both used the same principle? And they came out with 2 different conclusions. I'm making sense here, brothers. What I mean is that use the Qur'an and the Sunnah is sah. Like, what do you mean? This person is not using the Qur'an and the Sunnah? He is. He's saying Qala Allah, Qala Rasul, and he's extracting the ruling from it. So is the other person. This mas'ala now needs to, how is the evidence understood? How is the dalil understood? What principles are we going to use? How are we going to cross-check each person who's following the principles that the ulama have put together? Sah? Very important. That's what? Very important. I'll give you an example, another example. The greeting. A month entered. And I said to you, Ramadan Mubarak. And I said to you, Muharram, or any month of the Islamic calendar entered, and I said, I sent you a tahniyah. Sah? Is it permissible? The discussion, first of all, is the tahniyah, the greetings, are they a ibadah or are they a aada? Is it a norms or is it an act of worship? One brother will send a message to another brother, say, hey, bye. And the other brother say, ittaqillah ya rajul. Don't say bye to me, say, assalamu alaikum. The question here is, do you believe that the greetings are ibadah or is it aada? If you say it's a ibadah, then al-aslu fil ibadat al-hadr. The asl of ibadah is prohibition until evidence gives you permissibility. Then your argument, we understand where you're going with it. If another person says, no, I see it as a aada. Aada means norms, it's culture. The asl of culture is what? Permissibility until proven otherwise. People's cultures and the way they dress and the way they talk and the way they do things, the Sharia permitted it aslan. Unless it goes against the what? Unless it goes against the Qur'an and the Sunnah. But the asl is that it's permissible to do the cultures and things like that. We do this in our marriage, this is our culture, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. لأن the asl al-'adat is what? Al-jawaz, the permissibility. Do you see, brothers? Al-ruqya. Ruqya. Shar'iyya. Doing ruqya. Is ruqya a ibadah? Or is it a 'ada? 'Ada meaning, is it a tadawi? Does it fall under the chapters of medication and we take it down that route? Or do we say the ruqya is a ibadah? Some brother's doing a ruqya and he's doing it in a way we don't know. Can we say to him, akhi, where's your dalil to do this? Or is the asl, it goes back to tajriba, it goes back to the outcome. If it works and it doesn't go against the Sharia, it's permissible. Just like medication. Which one? All these I'm bringing to you guys is discussions that the ulama are having. Huh? And if you take a side of this discussion, make sure you know your evidence. And make sure you've read the other side's evidence. And of course, not every side is always right. Both sides can't be right. But do you see the mansha'ul khilaf, the source of the dispute? Do you see where it comes from? So, this is why there has been a discussion on this hadith. Inshallah ta'ala, next lesson, bi'idhnillah al-kareem, I'm going to go into waqtul Jumu'ah. I'm going to bring the first view of those who say it's ba'd al-zawal, qawl al-jumhur. And then I'm going to bring qawl of the Hanabila, who say it is qabla al-zawal, and their evidence. And remember, the khilaf is not when it finishes. The khilaf is when it starts. يعني أول الوقت. The beginning time is the khilaf, inshallah ta'ala, bi'idhnillahi al-kareem. Anything I've said that was wrong or incorrect is from your shaitan, and Allah and His Messenger are both free from it. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.